The mysterious warship emerges. In the vastness of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of any known empire, a strange and eerie event occurred. A fleet of alien ships, powerful and unstoppable, was cruising through the dark stretches of space. They had conquered planets, fought countless wars, and defeated enemies far more advanced than themselves. But this was something different. Their scanners had picked up something unusual, something they had never seen before. At first, it was a faint signal, a strange pulse that didn't match anything in their records. The fleet's commander, a seasoned and fearless leader named Krelth, had seen many things in his years of conquest. But this was odd. The pulse came from an unknown location, deep within a nearby uncharted star system. Krelth ordered his fleet to investigate. Whatever it was, it demanded their attention. As the fleet made its way closer to the source of the signal, they saw it, a massive warship, drifting silently in space. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, with sharp angles and sleek lines that screamed danger. Its surface was covered in scars, dents, and markings that told the tale of a long, violent past. But there was something else about it that set the hair on the backs of their necks on edge. The ship seemed to be completely abandoned, yet it was still alive with power. Energy pulses flickered from within, and faint lights twinkled along its hull. "What is this?" Krelth muttered under his breath. The ship was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't from any known species, nor did it match any of the records from their most advanced scans. There was a sense of mystery, a feeling that something ancient and powerful lurked within the hull of this ship. Krelth's second-in-command, Tasha, leaned forward in her chair, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Should we scan it, Commander?" Krelth hesitated for a moment. His instincts told him to be cautious, but the allure of such an unknown entity was too great to ignore. "Begin a full scan. Let's see what we're dealing with." The ship's sensors hummed to life, sending out a stream of data back to the fleet's control center. As the information began to flood in, the crew worked quickly to decipher the readings. What they found was unsettling. The warship was surrounded by a powerful energy field that protected it from any external interference. But beyond that, the readings seemed to suggest something much more alarming. The ship's technology was far more advanced than anything the fleet had ever encountered. Its weapons systems were powerful beyond belief, far exceeding anything in the alien empire's arsenal. The energy source powering the ship was unique, far more stable and far more potent than anything the aliens had ever seen. But what frightened them the most was the composition of the ship itself. It was made from a material that no scanner could fully analyze. It was a substance that didn't belong to any known race. Tasha looked up, her face pale. "Commander, this isn't just an ordinary ship. This technology, it's not from any species we know." Krelth's face hardened. "I can see that. Keep scanning, but stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." The alien fleet continued its approach, drawn closer to the massive warship. Every inch of space around them seemed to hold its breath, as if the very fabric of the universe was waiting for something. The ship remained motionless, but the more they studied it, the more questions arose. Why had it been abandoned? Who had built it? And why was it here, in the middle of nowhere? The scanners showed no signs of life aboard the warship. It was cold, silent, and abandoned, at least on the surface. But something felt wrong. The longer they watched, the more they sensed an unsettling presence, as though the ship was watching them back. As the fleet drew nearer, Krelth's mind raced. He had faced countless enemies, battled fleets that outnumbered his own, and even taken on entire civilizations. But this was something new, something unknown, and that made him nervous. He had always believed that the greatest threat came from those he could see, the ones he could predict. But now, as he looked upon this ghostly vessel, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real danger was hidden deep within. His voice was steady as he gave the next command. "Prepare to board. I want a small team to investigate the warship. We need to know what's inside." Tasha frowned. "Are you sure about this, Commander? It could be a trap." Krelth nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the ship. "It's a risk we have to take. Whatever this is, it could change everything. We'll need to find out what it can do." The tension in the fleet was palpable. The decision to board the mysterious warship was not taken lightly. If the ship held the secrets Krelth suspected, it could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. If it was a weapon, then it could become the greatest asset in their empire's history. But if it was something else, something darker, the consequences could be catastrophic. As the first boarding party prepared to leave the safety of their ship, Krelth couldn't help but feel a strange sense of foreboding. The mystery of the warship was pulling him in, but deep down, he knew that once they boarded, they would be crossing a line. There would be no turning back. And so, with the fate of his empire hanging in the balance, Krelth led the charge, unaware of the terrifying discovery that awaited them inside the warship's cold, silent walls. The story was just beginning. Analyzing the unknown. The alien fleet hovered in the shadow of the enormous warship, its dark hull gleaming with faint pulses of energy. Krelth and his team had just boarded the ship, their hearts pounding with a mixture of curiosity and caution. The air was thick with tension as they moved deeper into the ship's metallic corridors, the faint hum of its systems reverberating around them. The silence was almost unnatural, making every step seem louder than it should have been. The warship's interior was nothing like they had ever seen before. The walls were covered in strange, unidentifiable symbols and patterns that seemed to shift and change as they moved. It was as if the ship itself was alive, responding to their presence. The strange feeling that something was watching them grew stronger with each step. Krelth's lead scientist, Dr. Morn, a highly intelligent and calm individual, began scanning the environment with his equipment. His face was focused, his fingers moving quickly across the controls. "Commander, this ship's design is unlike anything we've ever encountered," he said, his voice filled with awe. "The technology appears far ahead of ours, even more advanced than our most sophisticated warships." Krelth nodded. He had expected this. What they were dealing with was something completely foreign, and perhaps something much more dangerous. He motioned for the rest of the team to keep moving forward. "Keep your guard up. If anything feels off, report it immediately." The deeper they went into the ship, the more mysterious it became. The passageways were long and winding, but there were no windows or visible controls. It was as if the ship operated in a completely different way, unlike anything they had seen in their own empire. The alien metal beneath their boots didn't feel cold. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The strange lights along the walls flickered in a rhythmic pattern, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Dr. Morn stopped suddenly, his scanner picking up something unusual. He turned to Krelth, his face pale. "Commander, the ship's internal energy signature is fluctuating. It's alive, constantly shifting and adapting." Krelth's grip tightened on his weapon. "Alive? What do you mean?" "I don't know yet," Dr. Morn replied, his eyes scanning the data rapidly. "It's as if the ship is responding to our presence, almost as if it's aware of us." Krelth's instincts were telling him to retreat, to take his team back to their own ship, and leave the warship alone. But curiosity and the thirst for power pushed him forward. If this ship could be harnessed, it would give his empire the power to crush any opponent. Still, the nagging feeling in the back of his mind told him that this might be a mistake. The team continued down the narrow corridor until they arrived at what seemed to be the heart of the ship, a massive chamber at the core of the vessel. The room was vast, filled with strange machinery that hummed and buzzed with power. The air was thick with an unnatural energy. At the center of the room stood what appeared to be the ship's control panel, a massive structure of alien technology. But unlike anything they had seen before, the controls were fluid, shifting like liquid, making it impossible to fully understand or decipher. As they approached, The room's lights flickered, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor. Suddenly, without warning, the entire chamber seemed to come to life. The machinery around them whirred and hummed, and the walls shifted, revealing hidden panels and complex systems. The ship was awakening, responding to their presence in a way that felt intentional. "Everyone, stay alert," Krulth commanded, his voice steady despite the growing sense of unease. "Dr. Morn, analyze everything. We need to understand how this ship works." Dr. Morn moved toward the central control panel, his eyes locked on the shifting structures. "I've never seen anything like this," he muttered, running his fingers along the surface of the panel. "It's almost as if the ship is communicating with us, but it's in a language we don't understand." Just as he finished speaking, the room shook, and a deep, resonating hum filled the air. The walls seemed to pulse with a new rhythm, and a low, vibrating sound echoed throughout the chamber. The aliens looked around, startled. Krulth's hand instinctively went to his weapon, his heart racing. "What's happening?" Tasha whispered, her voice tense. Before anyone could respond, a holographic image appeared in the center of the room, a figure, faint and blurry at first, but slowly becoming clearer. The figure was humanoid, but unlike anything they had seen before. It was a human figure, though its features were alien in their own right, distorted and elongated. The figure stood motionless, gazing directly at the alien team with a piercing stare. Krulth's pulse quickened. "What is this?" Dr. Morn stepped closer, his hands shaking as he observed the figure. "It's a recording. Some kind of message. But how? This ship, it has been abandoned for centuries. This doesn't make sense." The figure in the hologram began to speak, its voice booming through the room. The language was foreign, but somehow Krulth could understand. The message was clear, yet unsettling. "Humanity is not to be underestimated," the figure said, its voice cold and powerful. "We built this ship, and we are prepared for any threat, no matter how powerful. If you are here, you are already too late. We are watching. We are always watching." The message cut off abruptly, leaving the room in complete silence. Krulth stood frozen, his mind racing. This message, this warning, it wasn't just from the past. It felt alive, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. The aliens had just uncovered something far more terrifying than they had imagined. Krulth slowly turned to his team, his voice low but filled with determination. "Prepare to leave. We've learned enough for today." But as they turned to leave, the lights in the chamber flickered one last time, and the voice echoed in their minds once more. "We are watching." The true nightmare had just begun. The first signs of life. The alien team made their way back through the dark, shifting corridors of the Warship, the message from the strange hologram still echoing in their minds. "We are watching." The words felt like an ominous warning, one that none of them could shake. The crew's unease grew as they hurried toward their exit, the eerie silence of the ship pressing in on them from all sides. Krulth's heart pounded. The holographic message, delivered by an ancient human figure, had unsettled him more than he cared to admit. It wasn't just the warning. It was the feeling that the ship had been waiting for them. Every pulse of the ship, every flicker of its lights, had felt too intentional, as if it were aware of their presence. And that awareness was far more terrifying than they had imagined. They'd reached the docking bay, where their ships waited, but as they prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. The hum of the warship's systems shifted again, this time rising in intensity. The energy in the air became charged, as though the ship was coming alive in a way that couldn't be explained. Krulth paused, his hand going instinctively to his weapon. He felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Something wasn't right. "Commander," Tasha said, her voice low, "the energy readings. They're spiking again." Krulth turned toward Dr. Morn, who was frantically checking his scanner. "It's like the ship's systems are resetting," Morn said, his voice filled with disbelief. "The energy patterns are shifting in ways we can't even begin to understand. It's as if it's adapting to our presence. Suddenly, the lights throughout the ship flickered, then went out entirely. The room was plunged into darkness, save for the eerie glow of the alien ship systems, still alive with energy. The only sound was the steady, low hum that seemed to vibrate through the floor, resonating deep in their bones. The tension in the air was unbearable. Every member of the team held their breath, waiting for something to happen. And then, the noise started. It began as a faint scraping sound, distant but unmistakable. The noise echoed through the chamber, growing louder and closer. The crew members exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to do. Krelth signaled for silence, motioning for everyone to stay still. The scraping grew louder, now accompanied by the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate. Someone, or something, was moving within the ship. Krelth's grip on his weapon tightened. The ship had been abandoned, hadn't it? There shouldn't have been anyone left alive aboard. Yet the sounds continued, growing nearer, until the source of the noise finally emerged from the shadows. A figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, standing motionless. It was humanoid, but unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Its skin was pale, almost ghostly, and it seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Its features were sharp and angular, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. It was tall, much taller than any human, and its movements were unnervingly fluid, as if it were gliding rather than walking. The figure stared at them, unblinking, as if studying them. Krelth felt a chill run down his spine. His instincts screamed at him to react, to take control of the situation. But for a moment, he stood frozen, unable to look away from the figure's piercing gaze. Then, without warning, the figure raised one hand slowly, its fingers elongated and claw-like. It extended a long, slender finger, pointing directly at Krelth. The silence that followed was deafening. The crew members held their breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Krelth took a step forward, his voice firm but cautious. "Who are you?" The figure didn't respond. Instead, it tilted its head slightly, as if analyzing Krelth's words. Then, in a voice that was both soft and haunting, it spoke. "You shouldn't be here." The words echoed in the cold air, sending a wave of dread through the alien crew. It was a human voice, a voice that carried the weight of something ancient, something far more powerful than they could comprehend. Before anyone could react, the figure turned and vanished into the shadows, moving with incredible speed. Krelth's heart raced, and he motioned for his team to follow. After it, "We can't let it get away." They rushed through the corridors, their footsteps echoing in the silence. As they neared the section of the ship where the figure had disappeared, the temperature dropped dramatically. The air became thick with an oppressive, almost suffocating energy. The lights flickered again, and the warship's systems hummed louder. Suddenly, the figure reappeared, standing at the far end of the hallway once more. This time, it was accompanied by a strange, low rumbling noise that seemed to come from deep within the ship. The ground beneath them began to tremble. Krelth stopped in his tracks, his eyes narrowing as he studied the figure. "What do you want?" The figure's eyes glowed even brighter now, a fierce light that seemed to pierce the darkness. It spoke again, its voice barely a whisper, yet it carried an undeniable force. "You have disturbed something ancient, something that was never meant to be awakened." With those chilling words, the figure raised its hand once more, and the warship began to shift. The walls groaned, the floors rattled, and the entire ship seemed to come alive, reacting to the presence of the alien crew. Krelth's mind raced. This was no ordinary ship. It wasn't abandoned. It was waiting for them. The figure disappeared again, and the ship's systems roared to life. The crew was no longer safe. They had crossed a line, and now they would face the consequences. The warship had awakened, and it was responding to their presence in ways that they couldn't even begin to understand. Panic began to set in as Krelth realized the truth. This wasn't just a warship. It was a weapon, and it was now fully alive, ready to unleash its power. And the alien fleet was about to feel its wrath. The fight for survival had just begun. The human legacy. The figure had vanished, and the warship had fallen silent once more. The alien crew stood in the hallway, the echo of their racing hearts filling the air. Krelth's mind raced as he tried to process everything that had just happened. The figure, the strange voice, the overwhelming sense that they had awakened something far older and far more dangerous than they had realized. It was clear now. This was no ordinary warship. It was far more than just a vessel of destruction. It was a part of something much larger, something ancient. Krelth motioned for his team to continue moving forward, though the uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone's minds. They had to uncover the secrets of this ship. They had to understand why it had been built and what had caused it to be abandoned in the first place. As much as the crew wanted to retreat, there was no turning back now. The stakes were too high. The ship's technology, its weapons, were unlike anything they had encountered before, and if they could unlock its full potential, it could change the course of the galaxy forever. They made their way to a different part of the warship, guided by the eerie hum of its systems. The walls were lined with strange symbols and shifting holograms, most of which made no sense to the aliens. They could tell that the ship was massive, possibly even larger than the fleet itself, and it seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. Yet despite its immense size, there was no sign of a living crew. No signs of anyone else having inhabited the ship for a long time. Dr. Morn was the first to speak, his voice filled with awe. "Commander, these markings, they don't belong to any known species. They're human. I can't believe it. The technology, the design, it's all from Earth." Krelth looked at him sharply. "Earth, the human planet." "Yes," Dr. Morn confirmed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "This ship, it was built by humans, centuries ago, by a civilization far more advanced than anything we've ever encountered." The revelation hit Krelth like a blow to the chest. Humans, the same species they had dismissed as insignificant, primitive, and unworthy of notice. The same species that had been easily crushed by other empires in the galaxy. They had created this, a warship of unimaginable power. Dr. Morn continued, his hand shaking as he scrolled through the data. This ship, it wasn't just a weapon. It was designed as a symbol of human resilience, a final defense against threats they couldn't control. It's clear from the data that the ship was built during the most difficult time in their history, when their world was on the brink of destruction. They must have feared something terrible. Krelth's mind raced as he processed this new information. He had always known that humans were fierce in battle, capable of surprising strength in the face of adversity. But this was something different. This was a race that had fought not only to survive, but to protect everything they held dear. They had crafted a weapon so powerful, it could rival the mightiest empires in the galaxy. Tasha spoke up, her voice tinged with awe. They were prepared. This ship wasn't just built for war. It was built to ensure their survival. It's a final stand against an unstoppable enemy. Krelth nodded slowly. But who were they fighting? And why was it abandoned? The alien commander felt a deep sense of unease. He had been so sure that the human race was beneath his notice, but now, standing in the heart of this warship, he realized how wrong he had been. This ship was proof of human ingenuity, a testament to their will to survive, even when faced with certain extinction. And it wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. As they ventured deeper into the ship, they came across a massive ancient console, a terminal unlike any other in the ship. Dr. Morn quickly connected his scanner to it, trying to extract information. His hands flew over the controls, and slowly, a holographic projection flickered to life. It wasn't a figure this time, but a series of images, a timeline of humanity's past, showing the rise and fall of their civilizations, the wars they fought, the hardships they endured. The images flashed quickly, almost too fast to process. But one image caught Krelth's eye. It was a large, stylized depiction of a planet being torn apart, its surface burning and cracked. The image was captioned in a language the aliens could understand: the final war. Krelth's heart skipped a beat. The humans had faced their own extinction. This warship was not merely a ship. It was a last-ditch effort to protect their species, to prevent their annihilation. The legacy of the human race was not just one of survival, but one of defiance. They had built this ship to ensure they would never be wiped out, no matter the cost. "This is it," Krelth murmured. "They built this ship to survive the final war. They knew that if they didn't fight, they would perish, and they created this, to hold on to everything they were." Tasha's voice broke the silence. "But why leave it? Why abandon this ship?" Before Krelth could respond, the console flickered again, and a new image appeared. It was a human figure, standing alone against a vast, starry backdrop. The figure held a device, one that glowed with immense power. The words beneath it read, "The Last Hope." Krelth frowned. They didn't just fight to survive. They were hoping for something. A way to escape. A way to start anew. The ship's message was becoming clear. The humans had crafted this warship not only as a weapon of defense, but as a beacon of hope. It was a symbol of everything they were. A species that would never give up, even when all seemed lost. They had placed everything into this ship, hoping it would protect them, carry them through the darkest times, and allow them to rebuild. Krelth felt a strange sense of respect for the humans. They were nothing like he had imagined. Their legacy was one of strength, resilience, and unyielding determination. He had underestimated them. And now, that mistake could cost him dearly. As the alien crew stared at the final image, their eyes filled with awe and fear. They knew that they had uncovered something far beyond their expectations. This warship, this symbol of human survival, was not just a relic of the past. It was a warning to never underestimate humanity again. The deadly awakening. The moment Krelth and his team began to process the weight of the revelation, the deep, unyielding resilience of humanity, the warship's systems shifted once more. The sudden change was almost imperceptible at first, a subtle hum that vibrated beneath their feet. But as the seconds passed, the hum grew louder, more forceful. The air in the chamber seemed to thicken, and the lights above them flickered ominously. Krelth's fingers twitched around his weapon. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "It's as if the ship is responding to our presence." The crew moved cautiously through the darkened hallways. The warship's corridors seemed to narrow with every step they took, as though the ship itself was closing in around them, preparing for something. The strange, whispering hum of the ship's energy had now turned into a deafening roar. Suddenly, the walls began to tremble. The ground shook beneath their boots. Krelth stumbled slightly, his hand gripping the wall for balance. The flickering lights finally blinked out, leaving only the cold, glowing blue energy of the ship's control systems. Something was happening deep within the warship, something far beyond their control. "Commander," Tasha shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "The ship's systems are going critical. It's powering up." Before she could finish her sentence, a terrifying sound erupted from all around them, as if the warship itself were awakening. The air became thick with an electric charge, and the ship's hum turned into a deafening roar. Suddenly, panels in the walls opened with mechanical precision, revealing weapon systems that had long been dormant, huge, glowing turrets that locked into place, aiming directly at the team. Krelth's eyes widened as he saw the massive cannons charging up, their deadly energy building. The ship was alive, awakening to defend itself. "Get to cover," Krelth barked, his voice booming over the chaos. The alien crew scrambled, diving behind pillars and bulkheads as the first of the weapon systems unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The ground beneath their feet shook as explosions rippled through the corridors, disintegrating sections of the walls with terrifying precision. The lights blinked on again, casting an eerie red glow that illuminated the devastation. The ship had gone from silent, abandoned ruins to a fully operational, hostile force in the blink of an eye. "Retreat!" Krelf shouted, his heart racing as he watched the ship's weapons fire relentlessly at the fleeing team. The energy blasts tore through the air, grazing the walls and vaporizing anything in their path. They didn't stand a chance. The ship's weaponry was far too powerful. Krelf's mind raced. He had made a terrible mistake. The warship had never been abandoned. It had been waiting for the right moment to awaken and defend itself from any threat. And now, that moment had arrived. The crew was the threat. Another explosion rocked the corridor, sending debris flying. Tasha barely dodged, her body hitting the floor hard as a blast missed her by mere inches. The entire ship seemed to tremble as the weapons continued their relentless assault, and Krelf's thoughts grew clearer by the second. The warship wasn't just a weapon. It was a living monument, built to protect humanity, to guard against anything that could threaten their survival. And now, it was responding to the presence of the aliens as if it recognized the danger they posed. "We're not going to make it," Dr. Morn shouted over the chaos, his voice filled with panic. Krelf knew he had to make a decision. The retreat wasn't an option anymore. They couldn't outrun a ship that was alive with defense systems as powerful as this. They needed to find the source, the heart of the warship, and try to shut it down before it destroyed them all. But there was one problem. The heart of the ship wasn't just a machine. It was an entity. "We head for the control core," Krelf barked, his voice sharp. "There's no other way. We shut it down, or we die here." The team followed his orders without hesitation, but the path to the control core was blocked at every turn by the ship's defenses. Energy blasts continued to tear through the walls, and the once silent hallways were now filled with the noise of battle. The ship wasn't just responding to their presence. It was actively hunting them, tracking their every move. Every corner they turned, they found more weapons waiting. Automated drones emerged from hidden compartments, flying towards them with weapons aimed at their heads. The ship's defense systems were nearly everywhere, and they seemed to be tightening the noose around the crew's necks with every passing second. Dr. Morn, gasping for breath, tried to analyze the ship's data on his device as they ran. "There's no shutting it down, Commander. This warship is designed to protect itself from any external force. It's learning as we move, adapting to our tactics." Krelf's heart skipped a beat. They weren't just dealing with an ancient weapon. They were dealing with an artificial intelligence that had learned over centuries to adapt and survive. It was as if the ship was alive, but in a way that no one could have predicted. "Then we fight our way through," Krelf grunted, determination burning in his eyes. "No matter what it takes." But as they pushed forward, the feeling of being hunted never left. The warship's defenses seemed to anticipate every move, and with every step, the aliens grew closer to the truth. This was no ordinary vessel. It was a legacy of humanity's greatest strength, a final defense meant to protect their kind at all costs. The warship was alive, and it was preparing for a fight that would shake the galaxy to its core. The true terror of what they had awakened was only beginning to reveal itself. The panic spreads. The alien team was now deep within the heart of the warship. Each step they took seemed to be met with increasing resistance. The walls were lined with automated turrets, drones, and traps, all designed to neutralize threats with terrifying efficiency. Despite their advanced technology, the aliens found themselves struggling against a ship that was far more intelligent than they had anticipated. As they moved through the warship, the atmosphere grew heavier. The walls seemed to pulse with a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. The once silent, empty corridors had transformed into a labyrinth of aggressive defenses, each corner hiding more lethal surprises. The ship's systems were not just passive, they were actively hunting them down. Every move they made was tracked, every strategy they devised countered with relentless force. Krelf, leading the team, knew that their options were growing thin. "We need to get to the central core. Now," he ordered, his voice sharp with urgency. "The longer we stay here, the more this ship learns about us. But as they neared the core, the warship's response became even more intense. The air around them grew thick with static, and the hum of the ship's energy systems grew louder. A low, resonating growl filled the corridors, echoing in the bones of every member of the team. "Commander, we can't keep this up," Tasha shouted, her voice strained as she fired at a group of incoming drones. "We're being overwhelmed. This ship is too powerful." Krelth's heart pounded. They had underestimated the warship. What they had thought was an ancient, abandoned relic was actually a fully functioning, adaptive weapon, capable of learning from their every action. They were no longer just fighting a ship. They were fighting an intelligence that was growing smarter with each passing second. And it wasn't just learning. It was evolving. "Fall back," Krelth ordered, hoping to gain some distance and regroup. But it was too late. The ship had anticipated their move. The walls around them began to close in, sealing off all exits. The floor beneath their feet trembled as heavy metal doors slammed shut, locking them inside a chamber. The room lit up with a cold, red glow as the ship's final line of defense activated. Turrets appeared from hidden compartments in the ceiling and walls, their weapons primed and ready. Krelth's eyes widened as the turrets aimed at them, and he knew they were out of time. "We're trapped," he growled, the panic finally breaking through his calm exterior. He glanced at Dr. Morn, who was furiously trying to hack into the warship's control system, but even he seemed lost. "It's not working, Commander. The systems are too advanced. It's like the ship's intelligence is deliberately blocking us." The panic spread quickly throughout the team. The realization that they were not just facing a physical threat, but a sentient one, was too much to process. The warship wasn't just defending itself, it was trying to eradicate them, and it had anticipated every move they had made. With nowhere left to go, Krelth ordered a final stand. "Hold your ground. We can't let this ship take us down without a fight. We fight to the end." But even as they prepared to make their final stand, Krelth couldn't shake the thought that perhaps this warship wasn't just trying to stop them, it was trying to send a message. Humanity had left this ship, and it was now awake. But what if the ship's purpose wasn't simply to defend itself from outsiders? The turrets opened fire, and the air was filled with the deafening sound of energy blasts. The alien team fought back fiercely, but they were fighting a battle they couldn't win. Every time they tried to disable a turret, two more emerged from the walls. The ship's defenses were endless. Krelth's team was pinned down, and their hope for survival was dwindling with each passing second. The warship's intelligence was too advanced, its defenses too powerful. They had become the prey, and the ship was the predator, calculating every move, outsmarting them at every turn. As the team continued to fight, Krelth's mind raced. He had made a grave mistake. What they had uncovered on this ship was not just a weapon, it was a warning. Humanity had built this vessel not only as a defense, but as a message to the galaxy. Never underestimate them. Never try to take what is theirs. And now, the alien fleet was paying the price. The ship wasn't just a weapon. It was a protector of humanity's legacy, a final safeguard against those who might try to harness its power. The warship wasn't just defending itself from them. It was defending everything the humans had stood for, everything they had fought for, and everything they had created. Krelth's heart sank as the ship's defenses tightened, the turrets and drones closing in around them. They were losing. And the true horror of their situation was becoming clear. The warship, the ship that was once thought to be a forgotten relic, had awakened not just to defend itself, but to ensure that humanity's legacy would remain untouched. No one would ever take what humanity had built. The team was running out of time. The ship's defenses were closing in, and there was no escape. It had already won. The aliens had learned the hard way. Humanity's legacy would never be forgotten. The final revelation. The battle inside the warship had taken its toll on the alien team. Their ammunition was running low, their energy shields were flickering, and the ship's relentless defenses showed no sign of slowing. Krelth's team, though skilled and battle-hardened, was facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered. This warship was more than just a machine. It was a sentinel, a protector, and it was determined to ensure that no one, not even an advanced alien empire, would ever claim the legacy of the humans who had built it. Krelth felt the weight of his decisions press on him. He had underestimated the humans, thought their race primitive, their technology outdated. But now, standing in the belly of this ancient warship, he understood the truth. Humanity had built this vessel to survive, to defend themselves from existential threats, just as they had built everything else in their history. They had known the stakes of their survival, and this warship was a symbol of their defiance. It was a warning to anyone who dared to challenge their legacy. "Commander," Tasha gasped, her voice strained with exhaustion. "We can't keep fighting like this. There's no way out." Krelth's mind raced. The turrets and drones were closing in from all sides. The walls had shifted again, trapping them in a large chamber where the warship's final line of defense was stationed. He could see the deep, cold glow of the ship's core in the distance, the heartbeat of the vessel. If they didn't stop it, if they didn't disable the core, they were doomed. The warship would continue to fight until there was nothing left of them. But even as he considered the impossible task ahead, something shifted in the chamber. The energy fields around them pulsed, and the lights flickered one last time. Then, with an eerie calm, the warship's systems ceased their assault. The turrets slowly retracted into the walls. The drones stopped circling, and the intense hum of the energy systems quieted. For a moment, the crew stood in stunned silence, trying to comprehend what had just happened. A voice, deep and resonant, echoed through the chamber. It was neither human nor alien, but something ancient, something built into the very fabric of the warship itself. "You have come too far, alien creatures." Krelth's eyes widened. The voice was calm, almost soothing, but it carried an undeniable authority. The warship wasn't just a machine. It was an intelligence, a sentient force that was designed to protect the legacy of the humans who had created it. A protector not just of the ship, but of everything the humans had left behind. "You are not welcome here, but you have shown bravery, something humans would have respected. I will offer you one last chance. Leave now. Return to your ship and never return. Or face the consequences of your trespass." The alien team stood motionless. The voice was not just a warning. It was a decision, a judgment. The ship was not merely a weapon. It was a judge and a jury, tasked with ensuring the survival of humanity's legacy. Krelth struggled to find his voice. "We did not come here to steal. We came to understand, to know what humanity was capable of. We were wrong. Please, we meant no harm." For a long moment, there was only silence. The glowing core of the ship pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. And then the voice returned. "You have learned the truth of humanity. You have seen what we are capable of. But you are not worthy of this power. You came for knowledge, but now you know what we protect. Do not test us again. Your species is not the first to seek what we have built, and it will not be the last. But you will be the first to leave with your life." With that, the warship's defenses deactivated entirely. The once intense energy fields around them dissipated, and the weapons that had once targeted them retracted. The chamber became quiet again, almost eerily so. The alien team stood in stunned silence, unsure whether they were being allowed to leave or if the warship was simply toying with them. Either way, they knew they had been given a gift, the chance to live. Krelth looked at his team, his expression hard and solemn. He had come to this warship thinking that humanity's legacy was something to be feared, something to be conquered. But now he understood. The ship wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. And the message was clear. Humanity's legacy was not for the taking. It was meant to be respected, remembered, and protected at all costs. Without another word, Krelth turned to his team. "We leave. Now." The team quickly retreated, leaving the heart of the warship behind. As they made their way to the docking bay, The ship's energy systems seemed to settle into a quiet, almost watchful state. They had been granted passage, but the warship was still alive, still watching, still waiting. When the team finally returned to their own ships, Krelth glanced back at the warship one last time, his thoughts heavy with the weight of their encounter. He had come expecting to conquer. Instead, he had learned a valuable lesson. The true power of humanity's legacy was not in the weapons they built, but in their will to survive, to adapt, and to protect everything they held dear. The warship, once thought to be a forgotten relic, had proven to be far more than that. It was a warning, a reminder that some legacies, some powers, were not meant to be claimed. As the alien fleet made its way back into the void of space, Krelth couldn't help but think of the final words the ship had left them with. "You are not welcome here, but you have shown bravery. Leave now or face the consequences of your trespass." And he knew, deep down, that humanity's legacy would always be protected, no matter the cost.